At the last meeting, I reminded y'all that before ECHO went back to the voters for the second time, there was a meeting at the historic courthouse where it was decided that rule changes that had been planned to take place prior to the vote, it was recommended they not take place prior to the vote because the voters may not vote for ECHO. Thus, the voters were deceived. The voters were going based on what they knew the program to be at the time. And there was planned rule changes, I'll reiterate, that it was said, don't make the rule changes, they may not vote in favor of ECHO. Some of those rule changes took place after the fact. So the voters were deceived, which is extremely wrong in my book. So the voters were also told that the projects that we would be having, it was preached, there would be legacy projects, generational projects. At the last meeting, I brought that up, and I mentioned Spec Martin Stadium and several other facilities that were built well before I was even born that are still here today. And that's legacy, that's generational to me. So there was some pushback at the last meeting that it was said that that was never mentioned when ECHO was being pushed back to the voters. The generational, the legacy that was mentioned at the last meeting, that was not verbiage that was used. Well, I want you to hear the verbiage that was used.
These are legacy projects that me, everybody who's involved in them have left for the next generation. These are legacy projects. These are legacy projects. These are legacy projects.
I don't bring false information to you. I don't pull information out of my rear end. I only speak the truth as I know it and as I saw it. And I was a little bit upset last meeting when that pushback occurred, because the fact is we were sold on legacy projects. We were sold on generational projects. 20 years is not legacy projects. 40 years is more towards legacy projects. As I mentioned, there's parks still around today that I'm 60 years old that were there when I was a child. That's legacy projects. I beg you to revert your vote for the recommendation to change contracts that are already made. These people sign these contracts. I beg you to revert that vote back to the contracts they originally signed. And I know you can't change what has already been approved for 20 years. I understand that. That's a contract. However, we can move the 20 back to 30 or 40 so we have legacy projects that we were promised. Promised. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chester. Okay, has everybody had a chance to read the minutes of July 10th? And if so, do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion. We approve the minutes of July 10th as submitted.
Okay, that was John and Tom made the second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. Okay. Old
Sorry,
business.
Sabrina Slack, Assistant County Attorney. We need to recognize that that was a full vote as Ms. Drago is now present. So
Okay.
she was absent for the roll call. Sorry.
Pat Drago. Right. Pat Drago has come. You got it. Right. Thank you. Okay, moving on to old business, the 2025 work plan and 2024 annual report.
All right, so you might recognize that we've seen this work plan and report as we visited this in January, the beginning of the year. It did go to council. Council did recommend staff to take it back to the committee so that way the new appointed members of our board, Tom, Gerald, Leah, and Doug, could see the work plan, add comments for that work plan and annual report, and for us to bring it back to council. So that's why it sits back in front of you today. I mean, so the work plan is set, right? It's the 2025 work plan. We have 2 months left of 2025. So the 2026 work plan will come to you guys in January. So that way the new members can have input on the 2026 work plan. So, staff would say, let's just keep the work plan as is, where
Want us
this is
to
the
reaffirm
last
that with
meeting.
vote?
Yes.
I'll,
And then
I'll
we-
make that motion.
Aye.
All right, moving on to new business. So at the last meeting, you guys directed staff to bring back information on the restrictive covenants. So a part of your packet today is the memo that was sent out that's part of the agenda that gives a rundown of the background as well as the evolution of the covenant periods, what they were from 2000 to 2020, and then how we got to the 20-year covenants starting in 2021 grant cycle. So those dates are there. There's also the current portfolio status of what grants follow under the 20, 30, or 40 years. So currently we have 305 total ECHO projects. 52 of those projects are 20 years. 8 of those restrictive covenants have expired. So on the left side in your notebook is the list of the 8 projects that have expired, as well as the 121 projects that are either 30 or 40 years. So there's 59 projects that are 30, there's 62 projects that are 40 years, and then there's 132 projects that do not have covenants. So currently, you guys made a motion on June 26th that staff will present your recommendation to retroactively apply the 20-year time limits to all ECHO grants to the council. So that is the train that is moving forward as of the last meeting, but I wanted to give you guys the impact of what would happen if we were to do that. So the immediate effects would be 21 projects would be released, 100 contracts would have to be amended, redone, and re-put through the clerk of courts. So that's kind of where we're at today.
Can you tell me, just as the neophyte here that's just new to this, why the 30 and 40 years were originally established? Why was there a designation set up for 20, 30, and 40? I mean, we've heard the word generational, we've heard the word legacy, but from the standpoint of the structure of the organization at the time, why were 30 and 40 established?
So when the program was implemented and voted on back in 2000, there were 3 different tiered structures at that time set in
That
place.
came out of the vote then, the ballot, right?
That was just in our rules.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
That's what the citizens voted on.
No.
Okay.
Yep. So the ballot came out, and then there had to be some sort of rules in place. So we established a guidebook. So the guidebook was established with 3 tiers. From 2000 to 2013, we had 3 different tiered structures. So if it was it was decided upon if it was a restoration, it would be 20 years. If it was an expansion or an addition or improvement, it would be a 30-year project. If it was a new construction, it would be a 40-year. So that was the status for those projects from 2000 to 2013. And then, and then as the program started to evolve in 2014, there was discussion about getting rid of 20-year covenants and just making 30 and 40 years. So that happened from 2014 to 2019. And then in 2020, when the program was reauthorized, all grants went to 20 years.
And Daniel, if I may, just to answer your question, Doug, it was not in the ballot language,
Right.
but it's in the guidebook, which is a policy direction approved by council.
Got it, I understand that now. Thank you.
I want to make sure I understand what you're, on the second page, that's the 21 of 121 projects, okay? And that it has a restrictive covenant end date. is that the current end date, or is that the end date that would be if we went to the 20 years?
That is the current end date of those 21 projects now. So for instance, that first one has an end date of 2032 because it was a 30-year grant. It would actually expire, it would have expired in 2022.
Okay, so each one of these 21 projects would be released from any covenant from the first grant, but I'm looking at a number of them and we've given them second grants, et cetera. So I want to make sure of this list of 21, would they be removed from all covenants?
We would retroactively move them to 20 years and they would be released, yes.
Okay, but some of these, as I said, we've since done more ECHO grants.
Yeah, so remember, those are different grants and different restrictive covenants. So for instance, Atlantic Center of the Arts, that's the first one that's on there, right?
Right.
They have other grants with us as well. So if they got a grant in 2009, that restrictive covenant would be 20, 30, or 40 years, depending on what it was at that time.
So when I'm looking at this list, because I recognize a number of the projects, I'm like, all right, Little Theater of New Smyrna Beach, wasn't the expansion would be removed, but what we did with the screen would still be a restrictive covenant.
Correct.
So I'm looking at this list that really doesn't tell me on the individual facilities, a specific covenant or related to a grant, it would be released, but there may be new layers of covenants and restrictions that are not reported here. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay. I'm looking at Reed Canal Park. Okay, I'm just thinking of the different ones that we have visited.
Yeah, so that
So, I mean,
Reed,
they're
that
not
was
footloose and fancy free. They're not going to go sell Reed Canal Park.
no, because they have a grant with us for their last 2023 or 2024 project. That was for phase 1.
Right. I understand. I'm just trying to look and see. Okay, I can tell I don't know where I go from here, but that's okay. Thank you.
Actually, I do. Can you explain the exempt projects? There's what, 100 and something, 21 or something that are
Yeah,
exempt?
so the exempt projects, there's 132 of them. Those would be your county projects, like the direct county expenditure projects, don't have a restrictive covenant. There would also be projects that are on state or federal lands. Trails master plan projects are also exempt. And then any special agreements, if we have like an interlocal agreement with the city, which there's only one, and that is for Andy Romano Park and with the city of Ormond Beach.
So we have different rules for different people. The county doesn't have to have a covenant, and yet any of these other people who apply for grants could have a 20, 30, or 40-year restrictive covenant on their grant.
Sabrina Slack, Assistant County Attorney. There are constitutional and legal prohibitions from leaning state and county-owned properties. So legally, we can't have a restrictive covenant against the restrictive covenants are against lands owned by private entities, 501c3s. The same things would not apply to government-owned properties because there are prohibitions against leaning government property. So when we do government programs, the government is there for the benefit of the people. So to put a restrictive covenant on there wouldn't be in keeping with it. Now, those programs are obviously still geared toward things that the government has in place for longevity. There's interlocal agreements, memorandums of understanding. Those types of agreements are used instead of restrictive covenants. So restrictive covenants are for private entities. There are other things that are used for government entities. So there is the distinction. So yes, there are different rules. So, but there are
Thank you
rules.
for clarifying there are different rules.
Does that also impact, we get a lot of grant requests from cities, so I would assume that they are also, do not come under restricted covenants?
Cities are municipal corporations, so they're a little bit different than a county is a political subdivision of the state, so it is a different type of government entity. So they are a municipal corporation, which, and I don't have all of the answers for municipal corporations right now, so.
But the cities, we cannot hold them to a restricted covenant, or we can, or whatever you want to call it.
With a city, you would do a memorandum of understanding, or the type of contracts that go between counties and cities are memorandums of understanding typically. So that's the type of agreement we would do.
Is
with
that
a city.
legally binding? Can you bind them to that, or is it just, we agree to do this, but unless either one of us change our mind down the road?
A memorandum of understanding can be enforced through a writ of mandamus, but I don't think you want me to go into all of the ins and outs of enforcing through writs. You would have to go to the court and compel them to do what they have to do, but yes, it is enforceable. You know, just like with a restrictive covenant, if a 501c3 didn't honor that, I would have to go to the circuit court and get a court order to enforce that. They're the same, but just different legal mechanisms for enforcement.
I just think we should have consistent rules across, whether it's public or private, because it does get kind of complicated sometimes.
I guess if you go to law school and twist your mind, they are consistent in my mind. So, but you would. It's just again, it is. They're enforceable just through different avenues and different legal constructs, but they're both enforceable. They're just different types of entities that require different types of legal matters to enforce them. So, you'd have to go to law school and twist your mind to really see it the way I do.
Any other questions?
Madam Chair.
Doug?
I want to go back, and this is a question I guess I should have asked on reflection of this issue now from the original time we voted on this. And as Ms. Northey is the one that made the motion to remove the 40 and take it back, I'd just like to know the purpose of that. What was the intention to be accomplished by doing that, other than taking 40-year restrictions off? What was the purpose of the motion that originally got us here?
Pat, want to answer that?
To make it so that it was the same, pretty much, that it wasn't, I mean, I didn't see what the recent applications, what made them different, that they would, from the previous applications. We have a history of people taking care of their ECHO grants, that so felt like, okay, we're going to do the new ones for 20 years, let's go back and give that same opportunity to those who had already received money because they're taking care of the property.
To make it more fair.
Make it more fair,
Yeah.
yeah.
And also probably to encourage maybe more applicants.
Yeah.
As an organizational kind of person, my mind works that way. I like the idea of what the original covenant periods were intended for. Restoration, 20 years, expansion, 30 years, new construction, 40. I think that's a legitimate way to divide it. And you say make it fair, but it's not really fair because we're talking about different aspects of construction or function of an operation. So I think that, that's one of the things that I probably didn't understand as well when I voted originally, and why now I would say that, again, I remain staunchly committed to the idea that these covenants should remain 40, 30, and 20. Having known that and knowing parliamentary procedure as I do, I believe it is not appropriate for me to offer another motion similar to what I did before on a motion that has already failed. I don't think I have the ability to offer a motion that would do the same thing that a failed motion had already been voted on by. So my question really ends up being, how do we go about putting to the board, if you've had a chance to now take the information that Daniel's given you, how do we go about putting a motion in place that allows the board to vote again on keeping the covenants at 40 and 30? I can make a motion,
Right.
but I mean, like I said, I think parliamentary procedure indicates that if a motion has been made and failed, it cannot be redone. Is that correct?
That is correct. That you can't keep bringing back a failed motion every time. So you can reconsider actions that have been taken and repropose a different action, but you can't keep bringing back the same motion that has failed in prior meetings. And just to correct what Ms. Hively pointed out, we do have the cities execute the restrictive covenants, and they have not had any issue doing that through. So the county does not, the cities do. So,
Thank you.
Right.
Pat Drago.
I have two questions. First of all, I guess when I voted for that, I thought I didn't really realize that it was going to be retroactive. I thought that we were going with 20 years for covenants going forward, and that was my own ignorance, okay, as to the implications of what we were, so I just wanted to say that, I felt like we were going with 20 years covenants and the projects as we were going forward. And it would be, but I did not know we were going to go back and make it retroactive. That's just my own ignorance. And when I look at the ones, I'm looking at the list with the projects with a 40-year covenant. And I go down the list, and most of these I don't think are in any risk. But I would say that when I looked at Lillian Place and the Hotchkiss Mather Historic Home, those are two beautiful properties. They were direct county expenditures, okay? They have the 40-year covenant, and yet I would say that those two parcels between now and 2050 and now and 2053 would be at risk of being disposed of without this covenant and not coming back to us. I just know the parcels. So I want to point that out and just say, so if we went to 20 years, it would make the Lillian Place be 2030. And the Hotchkiss House would be 2033. That's just around the corner. And I want to, is there a way to have made the 20-year covenant change just prospectively and not retroactively?
One of the problems, I understand it, is that this train is already moving to the county council as
I
far as
guess.
that goes, right?
Yeah.
So if we take action here today, for instance, if I propose a motion that says that we leave all current covenants as they are, and on an ongoing basis, a go-forward basis, we now go to 20 years for the future, would that be something that would interfere with what's going toward the county?
Well, I can answer that. All current grants since the 2020 election are already 20 years. So everything going forward is already 20.
Okay.
Doesn't matter the type, right?
Yes.
It's the retroactivity that I think, yeah, okay.
Can I ask
Pat
a
Northey.
question? And I understand what you're saying, but the truth of it is, if Hotchkiss House or Lillian Place sold, they would still be responsible for paying back the grant. They don't get away without paying back the grant.
Correct,
All right,
because they're still under
thank
the
you.
covenant.
Thank you for clarifying
Yeah.
that, okay.
We've had that happen.
Gerald?
Yes, after looking at this and thinking about, like Doug, it kind of caught me without really thinking at it, and after looking at it, the 40-year or the new projects, as I look at what's been approved and how they get going, sometimes it's 4 or 5 years before that project's completed on new construction, from the time we award the grant to time that, it can be up to that long.
No, so
Several years, okay, maybe not 5, but it can be several years.
they have 2 years to finish. If it's a standard grant, they have 2 years to
2
finish
years
the
from the time,
project.
a new project, from the time they start to the time they finish it?
Correct. They can get a 1-year extension from staff if they were to run into any construction hiccups. But 3 years for a standard grant would be the max time you could get. 4 years for an exceptional grant, because exceptional grants have a 3-year timeline. So once
I
that
just-
grant is approved, their
I just
timeline starts.
find on new construction sometimes, the 20-year to me is really kind of short. It needs to be longer if it's going to be a new construction or some type of a new project like that. Because, like I say, some of the big ones, it's not totally, I don't think it's completely done. Maybe it is. But nonetheless, that's the issue that I kind of had, is that going from the 40 to the 20, it doesn't set real well with me either. I'd like to have it a little bit longer than that. Some of them are fine with 20, but like I kind of agree with Doug. I kind of like the way it was. I thought it worked pretty well, and in retrospect, and I could make the motion to go back to the as it was before, if that would work, to be another failed motion or whatever you want to make it from someone else. But I would move that we would go back to the 40, 30, and 20-year covenant restrictions as it was prior to the vote in, what was it, June or July?
Do we have a second?
I'll second. However, it appears to me that based on what you're telling me, the only action that we have available to us right now is to appeal to our assigning council member to vote no when this comes before the council. Now, it hasn't come before the council yet. I looked at the agenda yesterday. It was not on yesterday's agenda. When you originally, we talked about it, you said it'd probably be October or so before it gets there.
Yeah, so the plan is we wanted to bring you guys the information first,
Yeah.
right? And then the
Appreciate
plan is to take it in November.
Okay, so I look at the restrictions that we have to us right now as being the only thing we have is to appeal to our council member to vote no on it, get it turned down, and then
Okay,
we can either go forward from there or do something new. But I don't think we have anything in our hands available to us except to appeal to our council member. Would that be accurate?
No, you could make a new motion to make a different recommendation to the council,
Okay.
because it hasn't gone to council yet, so your recommendation's still sort of hanging out there in the air, so.
Then my second stands.
Okay, any other discussion?
Just for the record, I asked for more information as well last time. And my thought was, I hate to use the word ignorance as Pat used, but
I'm
But
glad,
I-
I appreciate what we've done.
I share your ignorance. I had the same thing about the retroactivity. Okay, so that was my stance on this. After, as they say, on the sports field, after further review, over the last month, looking at the information that was given, my mind started to change as well. So we have a bunch of different thoughts here, but I think we're all going in the same direction.
And knowing that the ongoing ones are 20, I think solves a lot of it for me. That we're just talking about what's already in place going forward. They're 20s. They're all 20s anyway. So
Which that raises an
Northern.
issue, because we're now asking, I understand what you're saying, but we're applying different standards to different organizations, different agencies by having them out of balance. That was all I was trying to do, was get them into balance. If we're to do 20 years, do 20 years. If we're going to do a bifurcated system, then why aren't we doing the same why aren't we doing the same for those that have come this last 20 years? I mean, what was the reason that you all went to 20 years? Was it because it was simpler? There must have been a reason.
No, so before the program was reauthorized in 2020, staff made a recommendation to move the grants to 20 years, all grants, right? The program got reauthorized. There was no vote that was done. The program was then reauthorized in November of 2020. Then during that once the program got reauthorized, we then had new members were appointed, and then staff had listening sessions with the advisory committee as well as council. During those listening sessions in the joint workshop from council, the committee in July 22nd of 2021 unanimously adopted the 20-year covenants. That went to council on August 17th of 2021, and then that's how we got to the 20-year grants moving forward.
All of them.
All of them, correct. But we kept the same rules in place for all the grants previously from 2020 backwards.
Doug?
and my statement to that would be, in counter to Ms. Northy's comment, you got in and you knew what you were getting when you got in. So those are the under 20, under 30 and 40 right now. They knew they were 30 and 40 when they got in. I see no reason to have to bring them, to change, in the middle of the game. We're changing in the middle of the game. Granted, it may be favorable to them, but we're changing. They got in understanding what the rules were. Let's go forward, and let's go forward now. Anybody coming in new gets 20, and we're good to go. I'm fine with that.
Just my final word, it really doesn't make a lot of difference in the fact that they have to keep their standards up. They have to pay back the grant, whether it's a 20-year grant or a 40-year grant. They're going to have to pay that grant back if they don't live up to what they said they were going to do. So,
Drago.
I just want to say that thank you, John, for asking for this further information. I may still be ignorant, but I don't know that I'm ignorant. And I think the assurance that the grants would be paid back, if I looked at something being sold, I am happy. I'm content with the motion that we already approved. So I just wanted to go on record. I will not vote for the motion that's on the floor.
Any other discussion?
Well,
The
yeah,
motion on the
because
floor.
we still don't have a level playing field. Because we're talking about everything from 20 20 forward is 20 years. Awful lot of 20s in that sentence. However, the new grants are still not playing by the same rules that the original grants played by. So if you really want to level the playing field, you would want to change it so that the new grants have to apply to the original 20, 30, 40 years that we have traditionally done. Right now, we're just having conversation that's not going to go anywhere if we're still going to stick with 20 years at the end of the conversation. So if you really want to accomplish something, you go back to the original things. That's just my 2 cents.
Okay, any more discussion about the motion on the floor? Gerald, you made the motion.
Well, the motion was that we basically go back the way we were doing it before with the 20, 30, and 40-year rules. We're not going to change anything.
you
It's
said
worked
we
well
can't make that
for
motion.
20 years.
Gerald made it, so he could.
The motion has to be different. It's not that, somebody new can't just make the same motion. It has to be different, correct? I mean, I think that's what I heard you say.
So
That motion.
essentially, Robert's rules, you can't, like I said, you can't just, the same person can't keep coming and making the same motion. But like a motion for reconsideration has to be done in the same meeting, a subsequent meeting, the same matter can be re-raised and reconsidered. It's not the same
That's
person.
what we have, yes. Okay, any more discussion before we take a vote?
Let's hear it. Okay, so once again, the
Drago.
motion on the floor is?
Is to revert back to the method that we did before with the 20, 30, and 40-year time references as has been done in the past.
Clarification for existing covenants.
For the existing, for sure, for the
Existing
existing
covenants,
covenants,
yeah.
but I'd like to even redress going forward. I still think new construction, 20 years is too short a time. So we either can redress that in this motion or we can bring another motion up on that. If we're going to stay with the 20 years for everybody going forward, then I want to readdress that also. But on existing projects, certainly the 20 and 30 and 40 years. If you want to make that motion specific to those projects, I'm fine with that.
Okay, any more discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say aye. Aye. So,
Voice vote?
4.
No, you can need a voice
Roll
vote.
call? We'll do a roll call vote.
Just two points of order before we go. Can we restate exactly what the motion is we're voting on? Because there was some confusion about whether or not it was an amended motion or whether it was the original motion. So can
Well,
you-
this one would be on the past projects.
okay.
We would revert back to what was in their contractual agreements. Does that sound correct?
Yes, I just want to make sure that's the motion that we're
Okay,
voting on.
This one will be
That's-
on what's already been approved for the 20, 30, and 40-year projects.
Oh, and I'm sorry, before you vote, Daniel keeps reminding me. Because you made a motion and you had a discussion, a public comment is allowed on any things that you make a motion on. Mr. Chester has requested to speak on this item. So, and it's a 3-minute.
3
Do you
minutes.
also- just
Mrs. Drago spoke about,
I did.
Ms. Drago had spoke about the money and getting grants pulled back, and it was said that even if you didn't change it, they would still have to pay the money back. That's not true, because if you pull it from, say, a 40-year grant to a 20-year grant, some of them are going to go away. They could sell those facilities. We just had that. The Dutton House, the only reason that we were able to pull the money back, the county, was able to pull the money back for the Dutton House was because there was still a covenant. They were still within the 40 years or 30 years. That's why they were able to pull the money back. The other one was the DeLand Museum. They were able to pull the money back from there because it was still within the covenant. So and even the city of Lake Helen, by the way, had to pay back $154,000 because they didn't live up to their obligations of a grant. So the cities do have to pay back the money. So understand that if you change this from 40 to 20 or 30 to 20, they can sell those buildings. Once they're out of the covenant, they can do what they want with those buildings and not reimburse the county, reimburse the taxpayers. Y'all are here to protect the taxpayers. So I beg you to please vote to revert it back to the way it's supposed to be with their original agreements. They agreed to it. They signed it. And remember, we were sold on legacy projects. 20 years is not legacy. And we certainly don't want taxpayer funds going to help build facilities that then in just 20 years can be sold and somebody profit from the taxpayers' money. 20 years is such a short amount of time. Y'all think about 20 years, especially the older we get. It seems like yesterday. So I beg you, please vote in favor of returning the existing grants to what their original contracts were that they signed. They knew what they were getting into. And then, yes, please have another conversation, even if it's at a later date, about reverting the current 20 years, not for existing contracts, they have to stay in place, but for future contracts. Let's go back to what the citizens knew was in place when they voted. Daniel said that the rules were recommended prior to the citizens voting. See, even though it may not have been in the language, ballot language, it's what the citizens knew was occurring. Let's not deceive the citizens. Let's think about them and the voters and legacy.
Mr. Chester. Reggie Williams.
Morning. On the restrictive covenant issue, I just want to tell you the experience of a small organization. Because I'm with the African American Museum of Arts here in DeLand, and we built an amphitheater. It has a 40-year restrictive covenant on it. We don't have an issue with the 40 years. We are completing an existing expansion of the museum that has a 20-year restrictive covenant on it. And based on the motion, I'm not sure what the effect would be on the covenant that we have in place for the expansion. So that would be one question. The other issue is that being a small organization, the 40 years does create some issues because we need to make some improvements to our amphitheater, but we can't borrow money because of that restrictive covenant. And so that becomes a problem, for us. And even with the expansion that we are doing or finishing up now, in that, because of the payment structure that exists, you have to pay in order to draw down from the ECHO grant. We could not borrow because of the restrictive covenant that was placed on the building up front. We could not borrow monies to help with the cash flow in order to make this project work. Fortunately, we had a contractor that worked with us, and we had a donor that stepped forward and worked with us also. Had we not had that, it would have been impossible for us to even meet the 3-year requirement, in this program. So all I'm saying is that what's in place, I think, we accept what's in place, move forward, but, jockeying back and forth, from one to the other, the rules should be the rules so that when we sign these covenants, if it's 20 years, it's 20 years. If it's, 40, it's 40, and leave it be. Because it does create, especially for small organizations, it does create issues for doing things long term, especially when you've got a 40-year covenant on your property. Thank you.
Doug.
Question for staff. Is Mr. Chester correct? Does the covenant, does the conclusion of a covenant relieve the grant repayment requirement? So if we took the grants from 40 to 20, and they suddenly they're out of their covenant, does that relieve them of their requirement to pay? And does a covenant expiration release the grantee from payment of their obligation to ECHO?
That would be a correct statement.
Because I see the covenants, and I understand what Mr. Williams just said there, but I see the covenants as a method of protecting the taxpayers. And I understand that there's going to be some pain to some of the smaller organizations, but we're here, and those things are put in place to protect the taxpayers' interests. And, you know, because you might have smaller organizations that go out and overextend their credit, go out of business, and now they're not paying anybody back. So I think the covenants are in place, are good to be there, you know, for the protection of the taxpayer.
Anyone else? Okay. Roll call vote.
Sabrina Slack, Assistant County, sorry, just one thing to clarify before you vote. Is the motion to replace the current recommendation, is that part of the motion to replace the current recommendation to council, and that only this recommendation would go forward in November?
Let's try to keep it simple. Let's take this motion and make it for the past projects. What's already been approved.
So my question is, you previously recommended that they all be reduced. That motion passed, and it's a recommendation going forward to council in November. What I wanted to clarify before you voted was, is this current action to replace that past action?
Well, I would
want to make sure we understand
I was
that.
prepared to make a second motion that would address that going forward. But right now, because there has been a lot of questions and a lot of issues, I wanted to make it simple and just do it retroactively, or for the projects that have already been approved. So whoever agreed to whatever they've agreed to stays in place, if it's a 20, 30, or 40-year covenant. That is my motion.
Thank you for clarifying. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem.
Roll call vote.
So now, if we vote again, okay, gosh.
Reggie Santilli.
Oh,
I'm sorry?
Reggie Santilli.
Yes.
Pat Drago.
no.
Gerald Feaser.
Yes.
Tom Laputka.
Yes.
John Macaluso.
Yes.
Pat Northey. Jay Pendergast.
Yes.
Doug Pettit.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Now, going forward, we obviously have a lot of mixed feelings here on this board, and we do have a recommendation going forward to council. Now, we can either choose to let that stay in place and let the council figure it out, or we can not do anything, or we can make a make a motion to rescind that. And going forward, we would also have a 20, 30, and 40-year covenant. Before I would make a motion, is there any discussion or anybody have any feelings strongly one way or the other on which direction we should go? I would certainly listen for it. If everybody's very content with staying with the 20 years for everybody, then I'll be quiet and we'll move on to the next agenda. But if not, then I have no problem making another motion if there seems to be sufficient support for it.
Any discussion? Pat Drago.
I just want to say that when I look at the list and I think about the types of projects that we approve, and I think about expansions or site acquisitions, 40 years is an awful long time and so much can change. Thinking about the taxpayer, we want to move these things forward. We want to improve our community. But I don't think we want to burden. That's my concern. I believe that 20 years is responsible. 20 years is a responsible time. If you got a mortgage on a house, you get it maybe for 30 years, you're right. But, 20 years is a responsible time. Most of these are public agencies, but the ones that we have that are, if they're small, 40 years is forever. As eons, because you can, and that would preclude some of those actions. And then you look at the governments, the nonprofits, et cetera. I believe 20 years is sufficient burden to to make sure that the taxpayer gets the projects that they want with this funds, and that and that makes it so that people can responsibly apply. So thank you.
Any other discussion? Pat Northey.
I support what Pat is saying.
Okay.
I guess my only issue, the new construction at 20 years to me is if we keep that in place, I will predict that 20 years from now, we will not have a Volusia Echo program. I think the voters will say, you're not really committing it, especially if we start seeing some of these projects going by the wayside that were funded and their covenants expire and changes are made. I think we need to look a little bit further out, and I would support going at least on new construction to somewhere time greater than 20 years. But if we don't really have good consensus, we'll let the council sort it out.
Pat Northey.
We have how many projects that we have done since the beginning?
We are currently at 319 projects.
How many of those have we had come back to us? I think, Lake Helen?
How many projects have been rescinded? Ashlyn, can you pull up the dashboard, please?
That dashboard was pretty fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. The dashboard is much better than it was.
And just to clarify, so you guys know, what's in the memo is 305 projects. There's 319 projects now because I just added the 2026 DCE projects into the plan. So that's why you'll see a difference in the numbers.
Off the top of your head.
I don't want to.
Okay.
I'm not. I would say about 10 would.
I was going to say, I don't
10
think
to
it's been a
15.
lot.
Yeah.
So it hasn't been 10% of the projects then.
So I will clarify. It is 30. It looks like 30. Is that 30 up there? So we have 30 rescinded projects.
30,
Now
see
that
that.
all necessarily won't mean that all of those paid us back. Those could be grants as well that didn't make it through the cycle or they decided to pull back on their own. As far as payback of grants, it would
Kinda like
probably.
the Daytona project.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So as far as payback, I think we're at the 4 to 6 range of actually grants that have
didn't
paid
know
us
it was
back.
many. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I go back to the comment that I made earlier about protecting the citizens and the residents, the taxpayers' money. I understand that we want to improve our community, but I don't think we want everybody applying for an ECHO grant because there are going to be some people that just will not be able to fulfill their obligation. And I think that I thought the 3-tier program, 20, 30, 40, was reasonable, given what you said about new construction taking 5, 7, 8 years to get completed, and now you've got to get a history of moving forward with it. So, I'm a person that believes that we should have stayed with a 3-tier system, 20, 30, 40. Just because, again, I think it goes to the two things. One is that the idea of a legacy project. If you look at anthropology and sociology, they generally consider 20, 25 years generational, and anything beyond that would be, I think, considered legacy. So 40 years as a term, using the term legacy is appropriate, I think, because it's something that's going to be here for, as Mr. Chester said, the parks that were here when he was a child are now still here. And I think that's what the ultimate goal of ECHO is, that whatever we decide to invest in or whatever we decide to use taxpayer money in is long-term and lasting.
Pat, Drago?
I think that even when I look at this list of projects, even when a covenant expires, they're not going away. Think about the parks that we saw. That was before ECHO even. They're not going away. What we're doing is we're putting a 40-year burden on some applicants. Let's just say, I'm thinking about some applicants that we're going to do an expansion of new construction, such as Mr. Williams spoke about. 40 years is a long time for a board like that to have a covenant that also is on their books and restricts them as they go forward doing business. To me, it's not going away. And certainly, if something's going away, you're going to know it with less than 20 years. So, I mean, if it's that shaky an entity, So I continue to support the 20-year. Thank you.
Anyone else? Jay? You're just thinking. Gerald, did you want to make that motion? Or?
You know, I don't support 20 for all of them. I just think it's too short on some of the projects. I think the short ones, and like you say, the suit, whatever you call the term for the big jobs where we give out a lot more money. What's the term? What do we call those?
Those are exceptional projects.
Exceptional projects. So exceptional project, you're good with having 20 years on it. If we're spending millions of dollars on what can we spend up to
2.5 million.
$2.5 million that in 20 years they could walk away with that money in their pocket? I have an issue with that. And so it should be longer. And whether we want to, start nitpicking or go back, like I say, I'm good with going back to the 20, 30, and 40-year deal. If I thought there was support, I'd make a motion. I don't feel the support right now. But I think exceptional projects in 20 years, no, it'd make me really think twice before I vote for spending a whole lot of money on anybody.
If I may, just to provide the committee with some more information for decision-making, we are going to be discussing the strategic plan soon going forward. And there's some information in that may help you with some of your decision-making. So it's at the committee's realm with what you want to do, but we do have some additional information that you may want to hear.
And that's next on the agenda, so maybe we'll just move ahead toward that.
I agree. Let's move. We made a motion a few meetings ago where we changed it at the end of the meeting. May do the same thing today. So let's move on.
Okay.
All right, Nick's going to introduce this next item.
All right, so the strategic plan is something we've been working on all year. We've had a consultant put this plan together. They're in the final stages now of compiling all the information from the surveys, the interviews, the design sprints. All that has been compiled into one report that's going to be presented to council. We don't have the final draft of that. They're still working on that with the data and the rationale. But what we do have for you today is a summary of what they have provided us for consideration for review. Daniel will go through. They have recommended goals and strategies. Now, these are just recommendations from the consultant. If council will review these and make a decision on these requests. Daniel's going to go over them with you today, and we welcome any comments. Any comments that are presented by the committee today, we will provide to council when that's presented. Not yet. That plan is not ready.
Yeah.
Yes.
But what you do have in front of you today is, as part of the agenda packet, you'll see there's 5 pages with the goals. There's 5 goals. Those goals are marketing and engagement, application and grant terms, direct county expenditures, program infrastructure, and advisory committee.
Daniel, real quick, sorry, just to clarify, what's presented to you today is not going to change between now and council, the goals and strategies. That is the same. So what I was talking about was the details of the rationale, the data graphs, the charts that would accompany it.
So within each goal, there is strategies in each goal. There's 30 total strategies. So what we'd like to do today is go over each specific goal. We'll do one goal at a time, and then ask for your guys' feedback or comments so we can tag those along with ours when we present it to county council in November.
Okay, question?
Yes, sir.
Will we see a copy of the strategic plan in its completed form before it goes to council?
Absolutely. Yep. Yep. As soon as they send over that final presentation, which will have the rationale, the data points, the exact timelines of everything, we will make sure to share that with you guys as well as council right away. So goal 1 was marketing and engagement. This was to expand public awareness and participation. So basically what I provided you guys is the strategy, the objective, the current timeline that's in place, the key performance metrics that are designed for each strategy and objective, and then there's a status column that kind of shows you guys where the Echo staff is at in the process with some of those things. If it's blank, it's because we don't have a status update for that particular strategy that they're trying to implement. But the good news is a lot of the stuff that they've brought up, especially in this marketing piece, right? Because we've been talking about marketing since the beginning of the year. A lot of these things we're already moving forward with. So if there's specific things that you guys want to talk about, goal 1, now's the time. I'm not going to go into each specific strategy one by one, but they're here
Question.
on the screen. Yes, sir.
And just popping this up about the Ocean Center, you're going to put a kiosk in there. Do you get a lot of walk-in traffic to the Ocean Center, or are you just trying to reach those people who are there for another event, and hopefully they will walk over to your kiosk and check out Echo?
We do get some traffic in there. Yeah, the Echo Gallery is there. So that is one of our projects. So it is
gets
open
walked-
to the
okay.
public. Yeah. So it was just a general idea to say, oh, where in the county specifically can we put an interactive kiosk? Ocean Center and the airport were 2 places where high traffic volume comes in. The goal is to get a kiosk that is kind of has the transparency dashboard, and people can kind of scroll and look and say, oh, what projects are near me? So it'll be very interactive based. Nick and myself just went to conference and we saw some of these kiosks, so they were really, really cool.
What does something like that cost, a kiosk?
We're still in the, I would say probably with the data that they would use is a couple $1,000s, and then the actual kiosk will probably be upwards of 7 to 10 probably.
I don't know how interactive you were planning to make them, how with computer screens.
We haven't got there yet, but that's kind of one of our
Could we,
strategies.
Gerald, they can
consider-
range, oh, sorry, Pat.
Could we consider Sunrail stations as well, when we're talking about places where
Okay.
people can look? I heard 2 places on the east side, but I heard no places on the west side, and they would be. And actually, don't we do something similar in like at DeBerry Hall now and Lino Preserve? There's is that what you're talking about? Something like that?
Yeah, that idea is out there. To answer Gerald's question, it depends on the level of technology we want to go with. I mean, you can get as fancy as videos and touchscreen. You can have audio with it. There's different levels of kiosks we're going to be looking at to see what we can provide that would
Well,
fit
I
our system.
would rather it be expansive on locations than narrow those locations. I think that's important that people know that stuff is out there.
Yeah. Those were
And-
just 2 that were identified
Okay.
by them as a
And
recommendation.
We have an Echo committee for the arts at the Ocean Center, correct?
Yeah, like for
For
Uh-huh.
replacement pieces and for consideration, because
Yeah, for art in public places.
Put, if I recall, about $250,000 was that the number into the Ocean Center for the Echo Gallery when the Ocean Center was being built. So, could you just, when you get a chance, confirm that number for me?
Yes.
please? Thank you.
Pat Drago?
When I look at the marketing, I know that when we've looked at some of the grant applications, one of the things we've looked at was their marketing plan, and oftentimes we found that that was lacking. And I wondered, not that we have it as a requirement, but if we could provide our grant applicants with a model or some hints on that, it might be helpful, because they have so much outreach in the community that if they knew kind of what we might be looking for and a metric to gauge success, that would be a helpful piece on that.
Just for clarity, trying to keep track so far for staff to make sure we get all these right. So we have a recommendation for expanded kiosk locations for interactive kiosk, and your recommendation.
It was more of a guideline or an offering for, and the grant application process, because right now we ask them for their marketing plan, and we might have a model or a thread connecting to what we're doing, so that we could, I think we have found some of those lacking, and that the traffic count and some of really one was piecemeal. So I think if there was a way to help that aspect, would be good.
Okay, thank you.
Doug?
Item number 1.6, conduct regular countywide surveys. this whole thing was created through surveys that were conducted through the county website through a link, right? Was there a control mechanism on that survey to be sure that people didn't repeatedly answer the survey or answer the survey more than once?
There was, I don't have the details from the consultant, but I do know that they used some of that through their technology.
Okay,
weed
so
out
I'm going
repeats.
to, my statement would be that for a countywide survey like that, I think it has to have a control mechanism to be legitimate. So you don't have somebody with a legit, with a special interest telling all their people to get on there and answer it as many times. We do that with voting for athlete of the week at the high school. Tell all the kids to get on there and vote as many times as you can, every hour, So, but this carries far more weight than that, and I think it needs to be legitimate. So I would just say on that countywide surveys item that we should be sure to conduct it in a controlled method, that's conducive with that kind of survey.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments, suggestions?
All right. Moving into goal 2, which was application and grant terms. So this is to streamline and modernize the grant process currently. So one of the things, Pat, that you just touched on is if we look at 2.2, about marketing business plan and feasibility study. So their recommendation is to replace those plan requirements with specific questions moving forward.
And I was suggesting maybe a model, because I think we have some of our smaller applicants may not be skilled with that, and that's where I think we've seen weakness with some of our applicants in that area. Support sustainability through investment income. What does that mean? I understand sustainability, but I'm not sure what investment income. What does that mean?
Make more money.
So this is to look at, one of the recommendations that they made was for us to look at urgent capital repairs, to fund those with our investment income that our portfolio makes in ECHO.
That's a big thing for us to discuss at some point. I mean, we've talked about maintenance and capital and repairs. So having that in there. So this would be, for example, on the interest earned by the assets, by the
interest earned on our ad valorem taxes that's in our
Okay.
portfolio. We get a certain amount depending on how well our portfolio does in that given
Right.
year. We could make anywhere from $50,000 to, I'm just making these numbers,
Right, I got it.
$200,000 in a year, right?
Right.
So we would look at that investment income and use those dollars, not to be determined each year, on specific urgent capital needs for the program.
That's a whole nother program. Okay, thank you.
Right. And I'll remind I remind the committee, these are the broad strategies and objectives. When we get into the details, if council passes them, and when we really get into the weeds of how we're going to implement them, that's where we'll get into the details.
Gotcha.
So these urgent capital repairs, they're not going to go through the grant cycle? Or are they going through a grant cycle? I mean, it seems like if it's urgent, they're not waiting until December to fill out a form. So I would like to see more clarification on what a urgent repair is.
Okay.
I said that's another discussion, Jay.
Any other questions? Comments? Any comments about increasing the overall grant award?
Are we
Pat
on,
Northey?
are we on 3 or are we still on 2?
We're still on 2.
Oh, mine's for 3.
And I did want to say that I really am pleased that I see at 2.3, create planning design tier for nonprofits, so that we can go ahead and, that was one of the things that has been my favorite issue from the beginning. Thank you.
Moving on.
Nothing else on 2? All right, next is direct county expenditures to enhance transparency and accountability with the direct county expenditure. There are 6 strategies for this specific goal.
Oh, I'm sorry, Pat Northey?
Yeah, thank you. I'm curious why, unless I missed it, but we have forever been criticized about the application process for the outside projects, and here we're require streamlined application for DCE projects, 2-page submission. So
Yes, so that was recommended by them, but also during our last audit, one of the auditors' requests was for us to create a DCE handbook, policies and procedures for the DCE projects. So we are also, and we're in the process of doing that now, but our plan is to also have the direct county expenditures fill out an application as well with some information, so that way we have documentation of projects being submitted into the plan.
that application would be less than what we would anticipate from cities or from not-for-profits? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah, it will be shorter than those, but it'll be more than you currently see. And when we do the direct county expenditure review, you'll see those applications in that process.
And who would make those applications? You guys or?
Yeah. Yep. I've already started working on creating an application.
I'm still having a hard time getting my head around this DCE. We require cities, if they want to do a park, they put up some money, we put up some money. The county, if you bring something for a direct county expenditure, are you strictly only using the ECHO funds for that, or are you bringing money out of Parks and Recreation or somewhere to also do a matching grant?
Matching funds are not required, but are preferred. So we do take, matching funds from parks or park impact fees, or we use beach management fund if it's a coastal project. The Doris Leaper project, we're using park impact fees to fund that. So.
And then those projects do become, because again, I'm new, haven't been through the cycle yet since we do the DCEs. We vote them up or down like all the other projects also, or is this something you say, hey, we're going to spend the money on?
No, you guys just review the DCE plan that comes to you.
Okay.
No recommendation.
Yep.
Pardon?
No recommendation.
We make no recommendation.
Correct. You guys just review the plan. So they basically, what happens is they submit projects into their capital 5-year CIP plan. We go through the CIP plan and we look for projects that could possibly fit ECHO guidelines and purpose, right? So then we say, okay, we'll take that project, put it into the direct county expenditure plan, and then we ask, we'll meet with parks and we'll say, can we use park impact fees to help fund some of this as well? And then we'll use match money for that specific project.
So I have a real issue. What's to keep us, I have no problem with you guys or any of us here, but what's to keep us from down the road to do like we did with the lottery and say, well, we're just going to supplement what we used to put in Parks and Recreation and we're going to pull it out of ECHO. And we're going to, and so over time, we just see this to become another county fund to spend as they see fit without guidance from ECHO. When did this come in play? Because I was on ECHO a long time ago.
So
and we didn't do this.
Yeah, the direct county expenditure has been a part of ECHO. There was a resolution that was put in very early on. The year.
You want me to save you, Daniel?
Go ahead.
Sabrina Slack, Assistant County Attorney. So ECHO was created by a referendum to the voters, and ECHO is funded through ad valorem taxation. So it's a tax. So the funds that come through a tax can only be spent on the source of the tax. So when you go back to the resolution created ECHO. ECHO is created in 2 funds. One is a DCE fund, and the other is this board's fund. So the fund that this board controls is the fund where you make the recommendations to the council. The DCE is controlled by the resolution, and the resolution restricts the use of those funds by the county to the purposes set forth in the ECHO resolution originally. So the DCE funds are not unrestricted funds or ungoverned funds with the county. They are specifically restricted by the resolution that created them, and for that specific purpose under all the laws that govern tax revenues. So that's where the DCE funds originate through the ECHO resolution.
And I'll add, the DCE runs on a 5-year plan, so it's forecast out for budgeting purposes. There will be money for grants. There's not going to be an issue where DCE overtakes the money that's available for grants. So.
What percentage are DCE funds, what are they averaging over the last 2 or 3 years as a percentage of total ECHO expenditures?
I'm going to have to get back to you on that one, Gerald.
Okay.
Can't calculate that in my head.
You're pretty good at doing that stuff. I'm surprised. You surprised me finally. Okay.
I know this is a controversial, has been some controversy on the DEC, but I will tell you, as one who has sat here for a long time and has followed this and chaired the committee to reauthorize, I support the DCE. I just wish that it was a little more, that we were a little more involved in it. That's the only thing I would say. I think the DCE revenues do not take away from those who have applied. Those have always come first from when as far back as we've done DCE. I hear your concern about the council. The council could take at this time anything that we did. They could take it all now. I mean, that's just what they could do. They could reduce the ad valorem that goes out for collection. So while I was reminded we are an advisory board, and that's what we do. We advise, but the DCE does, because it's countywide, it does cover. Good example, DeBerry Hall. I think we're using DCE funds to help do some projects. Roof. Didn't we just do the roof at DCE? I think that's what it was.
We're doing some exhibits over there
Exhibits,
right now.
is that what it was? Okay. The DEC projects have followed the rules as far as what ECHO can do and what ECHO is. My frustration has been that we don't really get much of a review of them. I would like to see the DEC projects a little more filled out for this advisory board. So, but I have not seen the DEC projects. Excuse me, I had a brain surgery and my speech is not always accurate. I have not seen an abuse of DEC funds of ECHO funds for DEC projects. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I think it's a good program and I want to continue it. I am concerned though that we have a 2-page, I'm happy to see that, but but I know that we've had complaints about the length of the project's application now, and that seems to me to be that we ought to be able to bring those into a little more synergy, the application process.
Well, and we are streamlining the regular application now. So it will be reduced this next cycle.
We've done that over and over until I'm glad that we're doing that, but yes, it's much better than it was from the very beginning.
4
so.
pages.
Right, and I will add
When Margaret was here, it was like that.
the intent of 3.2 is to provide the committee and the public with more information on DCE projects as they come in.
I think that's really critical too. Yeah, that people
But
understand.
I don't think you should say how many pages.
It's really small font.
Yeah. It may be more than 2, but that was the objective, was to have some sort of documentation, some sort of application on hand that we have that we can revert back to. You guys can see it, and the public.
Gerald, did you have something?
Yeah, another issue down here, the coordinate with Volusia Forever. That is a big deal in my opinion, and a lot of the projects, both in the planning process, are phenomenal. The one thing that I've had thoughts in my head about is that with Forever we're buying land that it's going to be natural land. You know, it's fine. We can put a kiosk, parking kiosk, and trails, but that's really about the extent of a lot of capital improvements. And it reminds me back to a story back, what I call really Volusia Forever, 1.0, which was before Volusia Forever 1 and 2, was back in Orange City back in the late 80s. And there was about, I think, 150 acres that came on the market. And we got into a big battle with Alice Cycler and myself and some people from Orange City against Clay Henderson and some of the enviros that wanted to keep, we only want to buy, swampland and endangered land. And this is a big high sand hill down here that has really no redeeming values. And so we prevailed and we got it bought, much to the consternation of a lot of the environmental groups. Today, it's a park. It's the park off of that they were finally, huh? No, not Valentine. The one out off of Veterans Parkway. What is the name of it called? It's Emery Bennett.
Are you talking about PFC Emery Bennett Park?
Yeah, Emery Bennett Park. And so even though this land buying bought the land, I'm sure the county or city, I don't know who finally developed. It's a beautiful park. And I really think we need some mechanism, some way that we can start trying to buy some of the remaining lands around here that are going to be developed as a park or a green space, not just a preserved, wooded area that's wonderful. And I fully support that too. But we, with all the people coming in here and with our current land development regulations that really don't require developers to put in much green space anymore, it's imperative that we start looking ahead and trying to tie down some of these green areas that will make ball fields and parks and different things for people to get out and run around on instead of staying on their phone all day. I don't know the mechanism or what we have in place to do that. If does the county through their DCE can say, hey, here's 50 acres over here. It's a lot of money, but we're going to buy it for a future park that we may not develop today.
Jerry, I agree with you on it. Being members of ECHO and Volusia, and we brought this up before on both boards, and there has to be the synergy is there. There has to be some proactivity from the
county or someone.
Go after these applications because they're there.
They're there, and yet there's no really leading force to go buy it. It's got to be the county to take the lead on it and say, we're going to untie this as a park, not as a
I
green
know,
space.
but we did that, and now we're committing to a motocross facility in the middle of the conservation corridor. So there you go.
Better than houses.
Not much.
Not much.
Oh, I'll argue with that till the day. In my opinion, I wish instead of a motocross track, we made a big mud pit out there where all these guys that got their four-wheelers can go out there and turn around. Because you know what? 10 years from now, if you stop it, it's going to look just like it did today. But if you put houses on it, it'll be like that for hundreds of years. So anything we can do with outdoor recreation that's outside the environmental confines, I think it's something we need to look at, regardless of where it's at.
Any other comments on goal 3? Okay, let's move on to the next page.
All right, moving on to program infrastructure. This will modernize our operations and expand access. Just looking to increase the the capacity of the program overall.
Could you explain what the launch library-based admission pass program is? I've never heard of that.
Yeah, so they told us about this RAD pass that I believe another state uses. So they told us to look into that RAD pass. But I know Brad and Nick have had some conversations with Lucinda at library to try to develop some sort of admissions pass program, almost like your ECHO passport, where they can come in and come into the library and they could keep trying different projects or whatnot. So.
At Drago?
I'm thinking 4.6 is going to have a hard time for the county council to support that.
You think?
Just saying.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, move on to goal 5.
All right, goal 5. Echo Advisory Committee, strengthen governance and oversight of the Echo program.
Touch my. I've already heard it.
So we're going to get trained?
That's just one of the things they're recommending is to do some sort of onboarding for new members, some training, some video presentations. I know we meet with you guys one-on-one before a new member comes in, but there's just so much material and so much history with Echo. So maybe we develop some sort of onboarding and training just to help out the advisory committee moving forward.
Yeah,
And I could use some balance.
Sabrina Slack, it's 8 hours on Sunshine Law.
No.
You laugh about that, but I'm on P&Z in Deltona, and I'm required to take 8 hours of that. And you know who teaches it? The attorney for Deltona, her father teaches that program at FSU. I just did that program.
Any other comments, questions on Goal 5?
I just want to say that I think, we've been waiting for a strategic plan. I think this reflects a lot of work, and there are a number of components of it that I'm really pleased about, particularly that. So thank you, and let's go forward here.
Staff has been working hard this year.
Absolutely.
We appreciate all that you do.
Thanks.
Okay, quarterly updates on Echo and DCE projects.
Do you want to pull that one up, Ashley? Thanks. All right, just a reminder that these reports are reflecting April through June 30th. So they don't reflect the current present time, but these are the reports that were due to us July 15th. So as recommended previously, you guys asked us to create 2 separate pages, one for the grants and then one for the direct county expenditure. So on this first page is the updates from the grants right now. Projects in bold are completed. The rest of the projects are still going through the completion process. Any questions about a specific project?
I want to just say that I'm looking at, and I know it was a difficult vote for this council, this advisory board on the City of DeBerry, Alexander Island Park. I see it was 100% designed this quarter as well as the previous quarter, or almost. What kind of movement are we getting there? Because I think that one of the issues we had was that their designs were incomplete. So are the design now complete?
So the design is actually at 20% in zero for construction.
So
the previous quarter, they didn't have a report
okay.
because the project wasn't a.
Is that the first?
I'm talking about the City of DeBerry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong
Alexander
project. I'm sorry.
Island Park. And it
City of
should-
DeBerry 2427. Sorry, I was looking at
That's okay. All right,
2517.
yeah.
Yes, so their design is complete. Right now, currently, the St. Johns River Water Management District has issued the necessary permits for the uplands portion of the project, and the city has initiated permitting process for structural components within the wetlands, including the dock, kayak launch, and overlook tower.
Well, they were talking about phases. Is that phase 1 or is that the total plan?
This is part of the original phase.
Yep.
They're in the permitting stage of the original phase now.
Yep.
So they're making progress. They're not just, okay, thank you.
Correct.
And this project has to be completed, you said, within 3 years from the award date?
That is correct.
Think they'll make it?
As far as what we're seeing, I think they will, yeah.
Just one.
Doug?
Yeah, I'm going to circle around to a couple of things here, and some of it goes back to the goal here, goal number, the information or instruction to the county, the advisory council. I'm also going to go to Ms. Northy's comments earlier about we are an advisory board. So I remain perplexed in some ways, which is not unusual for me, on really what my duty as a board member is. And I go to the work plan, item 4, where it talks about the board will be periodically briefed on the progress of open projects, review time extensions, scope changes. And then I go to, and I spent a lot of time in this handbook you gave me. I'm retired, I got nothing else to do, right? So in the advisory committee handbook, under the section connecting with the county government, it talks there in several places about the board is responsible for assessing and voting as noted, all right? So I wonder, what are my responsibilities to monitor the accountability and transparency of the things being presented? And I go to the spreadsheet here, and I see that the spreadsheet is nice to have all that information there, but it doesn't give a lot of great detail. And you and I spoke earlier this week when we talked about the dashboard. The idea that, you know, it doesn't give details. So where do we as board members find the information on the status of these projects? Where can we go to see where are they completing their obligations? If they're fulfilling their reporting and performance obligations, is that available to us anywhere? Can we go anywhere and see that? And basically, what responsibility do we have to monitor these things? Are we responsible for that, or are we just responsible for reviewing grants and approving them or not?
So I can definitely give you, if you guys want the quarterly reports with all the detailed information of those projects, if you guys want me to include that in here, I can do that for you.
Well, I'm
But
not
I
looking
can
to
also-
create extra work, but is there a link where we, like, if I wanted to go to, like we do on the dashboard now, we can link to something, there's a link, and it goes, now, my comment to Daniel this week on the dashboard was when you link and open it up, the box is so small, I can't read anything. All right, that's got to come out. Yeah, so we talked about that. But, I mean, can I go to the Volusia Flagler YMCA Deltona Athletic, click on that, and come up to their documents to show, okay, they were responsible for reporting something in April, they met that requirement, or they did not meet it, or things like that?
Not at this time.
Okay.
So our intent is to have, you know, staff is responsible for the monitoring of the progress through the projects to make sure they get completed on time.
Right.
But our intent is to have the availability built in to the dashboard at some point where you can have the most recent monitoring report
Y'all have
of
done
the
a good
completed
job on-
project
I
in
have
that
asked-
information.
I've asked for information like that just recently and got it. So it was accessible for me. I didn't have to keep it. I understand it maybe on the dash, but that would be a lot of work to load up all of those. all
I
that
mean, honestly,
information.
all I have to do is scan. We scan.
Oh, well,
they
then do
the applicant sends all these grants, right? They submit a quarterly report to us. They come to Jill or myself. We scan them in the file. We put them in a folder. I can combine them in a PDF and send them to you guys. So
Well,
you
I
guys
don't want
have
to
all
send
the.
them, but it would be nice, I think, to maybe
We can link them.
link them.
Well, two things I would ask. Number one, what are my responsibilities as a board member to stay on top of that or to monitor it? You know, am I stepping out of my lane and asking for that kind of information?
No, but we could, as staff, that's our job to go and look at the compliance to make sure that they're keeping up.
And let me ask you this: so you say that compliance. What kind of percentage are we getting as far as the grantees or grantors complying with their reporting requirements?
They all have to comply.
Okay.
Or it goes into a non-compliance issue. We
Okay.
pursue that.
Okay.
We have no issues with any of the projects filling out the quarterly or annual reports.
Okay. All right.
I mean, we're on them. Like, so the next quarterly reports are actually due to us October 15th. We have over half of them already.
Okay.
So Jill and myself are constantly reaching out. Hey, you guys got another week to get your reports in. Reminder, please get them into us.
Yeah. When you're talking about over 300 projects, I can imagine if you get one or two.
Well, remember, it's only the open projects
Right.
for quarterly.
Right.
As far
Okay.
as annual reports, we get, when that time comes in July, we get over 319
Okay.
annual reports.
That's my concern, and then, like I said, asking whether I'm stepping out of my lane and asking to be able to see that, or knowing.
And at any time, you can ask me for any information on any grants, and I can provide you any type of information that you want. But we'll definitely look forward to see if there's a mechanism that maybe we can attach the last quarterly report. So on the dashboard, if you click a certain project, it'll show you exactly, like if we were to pull up the City of Edgewater pickleball courts. Go ahead and type that one in, Ashlyn. Type in pickleball. And pick the Hawks Park one.
That's crazy. That's got to be bigger.
So, so on the dashboard, there's a picture of the actual grant, but in this pie chart right here, scroll down a little bit, Ashlyn, it'll see, this is the percentage, and then hit the arrow, Ashlyn, of 1 of 2, a little bit lower. Yep. This will show exactly what the design and construction percentage is. It just doesn't have that backup detail.
Yeah,
Do it.
it's great. Information is great. Yeah.
And staff also does site visits too.
Yeah, we have to, during projects that are open, we have to visit them. I mean, we're out there all the time. Projects that are completed, we have to visit them triannually. But since I've come on, we have visited them biannually, and I think I've visited, I think I only have about 25 or 30 projects left that I actually have not laid my eyes on so far.
So to conclude my part of this and go back a little bit to the goals thing there, as part of that, instructing and informing the advisory committee, maybe something in the next advisory committee handbook that talks about what our responsibilities are. What monitoring and accountability responsibilities do we have other than just reviewing, these things, on an ongoing basis.
Well, the monitoring falls mostly to staff. The guiding resolution spells out your roles as advisory to the council,
Right.
as far as decision-making, approval of applicants as they come in.
Okay.
Our role is to provide you as much information as we can so you can make the decision.
Right. Okay.
No other questions on the regular grants?
Right.
Okay. All right, moving forward to the direct county expenditure projects.
So I have a question. For the motocross facility, has the county purchased the land?
The land has been acquired, yes.
Okay. They still have signs there for hunting.
There is an access point for the shooting range next door.
Okay.
There's an easement for that.
Is that still active, the shooting range?
It is.
Will there be a covenant on that of 40 years or 20 years?
It's county-owned land, so there's no covenant on that.
And the reason I ask that is they may find that after they're operating this, it's much more favorable to sell it from a liability standpoint.
Any other questions?
Okay. Staff comments?
You want to just keep the dashboard up?
I just noticed, the Deltona Amphitheater Design and Engineering, there has been nothing, it looks like, done on that. Who's doing that? Are we doing that, or has that been outsourced?
We are working with library services. They're Brad Library, and I believe an outside consultant firm is looking into doing the actual design for that project. There's definitely been some talks. There's just no design plans yet.
And remember, these are only through June. So there's been a lot of things happen to these things since June.
Okay,
You'll see that at the next report.
okay.
All right, moving to staff comments. So one thing I wanted to bring to your attention as well was that we also had the audit recently. The 2024 ECHO audit went to the council for review. So just bringing some good news from our audit here. They tested 16 ECHO projects. No compliance issues were found with any of the ECHO policies or procedures. Those projects are tested at random. Gerald, this is a good number for you. The last 5-year rolling average is now down to complete a project 1.5 years for the last 5 years of projects. So we're really doing a good job. The grantees are really doing a good job of getting their projects complete. And one thing that they pointed out as well is that there's a strong transparency dashboard for public visibility. This was before we've now implemented the new dashboard. So I'm excited that Dashboard 2.0 is out for the public. We did send a press release out notifying that we had 2 complementary digital platforms to enhance the transparency and public engagement for Echo and Forever. So this is the Echo dashboard. I know I sent this to you guys. It's visible to the public. So you can go ahead and filter through and look up any projects that you want by specific grant year, or if it's a county project, if it's DCE, how much funding, how many environmental projects there are, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a good platform to use.
And Daniel, can I jump in real quick? I just want to commend Daniel and Mike Richards, the 2 that have been working on this dashboard for a while. It's a big improvement over the last one, and we're always trying to improve the technology and the information we can get out. And we tried to approach this by, the most common questions we get asked about projects, like, how many projects are in the city of Daytona, or how many are outdoor education projects, or how much money was spent on outdoor education projects. This dashboard will now provide you that information once you start filtering through the projects you want to look for. So there's a lot of features in here. It's going to take a little bit to get used to because there's so many compared to the last one. But we are always striving to improve this. This is only version 2.0. So,
Quick question. When I got that, of course, I was checking my email on my phone, and so right away I had to try it. And that's when I emailed you. Can I get rid of the 283 million? It showed up half the phone, and when I go to the computer screen, it's great. But a lot of people today get their information off their phones. Are you going to do any kind of an upgrade? Because the thing that was cumbersome was just trying to get rid of that overblock there that took up half the screen. You couldn't really full screen the individual projects.
Yeah, we're working on trying to get it. It is mobile compatible now, but we are constantly trying to improve it.
That'd be in 3.0 version, right? But
We're trying.
it is great.
We're open.
I commend you guys because
Yeah,
it
we're
really
open
was
to,
nice.
it's
being able to-
more vibrant, more easy to filter. So let's play with it here. If I wanted to know how many cultural projects we had, so Ashland would click cultural, right? And it's going to filter it down to tell me I have 51 cultural projects in Volusia County. The map then filters to those projects. If someone said, well, how many cultural projects are in the city of Daytona Beach? Then I can go quickly up to the city, up at the top, filter to Daytona. Now I can tell you the answer is there's 18 cultural projects and the money, and I can filter it down as far as I want to find the answer to the questions. So it's really cool. I could see that 17 of those projects are completed. There's 1 in progress. And then if you wanted to search for one on the left, you can. If you wanted to click one of the dots, it'll take you to that specific project for more detail. And then Ashland can hit the corner button to reset, and then we can go back to the beginning and start all over and search for our next answer or next, whatever question pops up. So.
May I say something? Just
Yes,
a comment
Pat
to
Northey.
what Gerald was saying. I use my iPad a lot and my phone. I hardly ever use my desktop anymore. So I know that you can develop to be app specific to one of those ways of doing it. And that he's right. It is hard on this. You almost give up. At least I did. So I would say if we can make an app that is specific to iPad or to the telephone, because it is hard when especially when you're old and your eyes are old.
We'll welcome any feedback from committee members on any issues we may have. We have a really good GIS team that works on this. I will say this is a GIS-based product, not an app-based product, so there are limitations for that.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it works best on a desktop or
So
bigger
you're
screen.
not looking at an app.
But we've come a long way in making it mobile compatible, so we will take feedback and look at
Right.
features to see if we can improve that. Yes.
It was.
Well, that makes sense then.
Yeah.
Yeah, we put a lot of time into this. I mean, Jill must have spent hours upon hours compiling all the pictures and putting all the data into a spreadsheet. And Mike, Mike Richards spent a lot of time on this. He did a really, really good job. So,
And for John and Gerald, we're making an improvement very similar to the Volusia Forever dashboard, already in the works.
Just two real quick things that we've already talked about the size of that block when it comes up with the. I think it's great to have it. I think it's very interesting. Just I think very beneficial to have it. Just like to see that block. And the other thing I would recommend on this is an old guy thing. The font color down there where you've got the list of the projects. For an old guy that has a hard time seeing sometimes, that lighter font on the lighter background, maybe look at going to a darker blue or something like that. I like the idea that you've blocked off the ones that are complete. That helps out a lot, but I just like to see that a little. I think the gold or brown
It's hard
font
to
color is
read
difficult to read. Yeah.
for
yeah.
old eyes.
If I take my glasses off, I can't even see it.
Yeah.
okay.
So,
It needs to be bolded or something.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to go through for advisory committee.
Oh,
comments.
I wasn't done yet. I wasn't.
I got.
I wasn't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
One more, Reggie. One more. Yeah. Moving on from the dashboard and on to the microsite.
All right, so Ashley's going to pull up the microsite. So this is part of our marketing initiative, right? So this is the new site that has gone live. It's exploreechoforever.com. So on here, this is where we're creating some synergy with Echo and Forever. So a nice layout here if I wanted to find out more information about, just pick environmental. This will highlight, some nice pictures of some of the environmental projects throughout the county. And then we give a quick little project summary of the Echo category, or of the environmental category. And then the plan is to do a spotlight on a specific project quarterly. For this quarter, we've chosen the Marine Discovery Center, but this will give people a little snippet of some of the projects. They can learn more, take them to a different site. And then below, there is an interactive map as well that shows the projects for this specific category. There's also a page for Volusia Forever if you wanted to see the different preserves. So this is only going to be Echo projects or Volusia Forever preserves. Okay. The other cool thing about this site is in the corner, as you could see, a lot of sites now have chatbots. Well, we also have a chatbot on this site. He's named, or he or she is named Echo Explorer. So it'll talk to you. So the goal of this is to have mothers, fathers, grandparents, aunts, uncles go on here and ask it specific questions, if they wanted to find out about a certain project or if they're in. So for instance, we'll just say, looking for a project in Port Orange. Ashlyn's our tester.
Our whole screen has a big black rectangle where that is shown. See
Yeah.
that white thing? Ours is
Ours is
black.
black.
Oh, you
John's
can't see.
doesn't.
Where the Echo Explorer.
Some
is.
On your screen, just press where show request last speaker. It'll turn it off.
No, the other one.
No, that's
Press
not.
that one again, and then press your
Which
press
one?
that one again. No.
Oh, high controls.
There you go. Now you're good.
Got it?
Now you're seeing it all.
Yeah, you saw how quick I was, right? So remember, these are, this is being trained in the background. So the more staff has played with it and the more the public starts to use it, it becomes smarter, right? It's that AI revolution that the whole world is moving towards, right? But so Ashlyn said, what kind of projects are in Port Orange? And it'll specifically identify cultural projects. As you scroll down, it tells you about some outdoor projects. And like I said, all of these are Echo projects that people can go and visit. Type in, what about a splash pad? So bam, I've saw those, but I really wanted to take my son or daughter to a splash pad. And it shoots and says, yes, Port Orange has a splash pad at Riverwalk Park. So.
Ashley, go back to the main page for a second, would you? And scroll down where you got the 4 items across, right there. Click to learn more on the cultural. No, cultural. That's environmental. That's what happened last night. The cultural's coming up to environmental.
Because we had changes.
That's why I wanted you to do it.
Okay. Yeah, it wasn't like that
There's a
before,
link
so
in there
I'll make
somewhere
sure-
that's
yeah,
been.
we'll fix the
that's
link.
not right, yeah.
I think we've gotten rid of culture.
Yeah.
You know, for a second when I saw it, I was like, did they really do that? I mean, did they?
No, I'll get that. I'll get them to fix
Okay.
that. But
Yeah, and
I promise it was there.
We're not going to do that anymore.
there is some
thanks.
information on Volusia Forever on here as well.
Yeah. So there's the
Very
Volusia
nice.
Forever.
You guys have really worked hard on all of this. Thank you.
Great job.
It looks good.
Yeah, and then the last thing I just wanted to add, there's the news and announcements as well up at the top, Ashlyn. So that way I can provide people with, any of the press releases or any updates on current projects
yeah,
as
that's
well.
really nice.
So,
Daniel, I'll add some additional synergy that's coming to the division that just started in October, so it's fairly new. As the Explore Volusia program is now in the Resource Stewardship Division.
Oh, good.
So we'll be utilizing ECHO and Volusia Forever, probably even more than we have in the past in that program. So that's our public outreach and education arm for the county for outdoor projects.
Great.
and then lastly, I sent you guys an email yesterday about Edgewater Pickleball. Grand opening of that project is November 5th at 10 a.m. And that's all I have for staff comments today.
Thank you, Dan. Okay, now for advisory committee comments. Gerald. Tom? John?
Yeah, the staff's presentation was great. And you answered my question from a couple of months ago when City of Port Orange wanted to know exactly what had been done by ECHO in the past. And you told me it's coming. And Jill said the same thing. So that really went over well. And it's a great job on the websites. Thank you.
I echo that. I think staff has done a tremendous job this year with ECHO, and we appreciate it. Pat?
I want to echo the comments as well on staff work for the dashboard is really impressive. I love that it's even easy enough that I could work it. And I think that the strategic plan, when we first looked at a time frame on that, I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to go on for years. I think that y'all have done a fantastic job of pulling that together, coming up with a proposal for the strategic plan, get everything. And I think it's stayed very well on task. So compliments to you on that. And compliments to Reggie for running a nice meeting. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. I will add my thanks to staff for all the changes that have been made. You all have done great work with that. I do have one question based on a conversation that was at council on Tuesday. They meet on Tuesday. ECHO's name was on the lips of Councilmember Jake Johansson. Do we know what that means? Do we have any idea whether we're changing the application based on their conversation, whether there is something that we need to be prepared for?
Not at this time.
Okay.
That just happened on Tuesday, so I don't have any additional information for you on that.
No comment.
We asked you to come back for more information, and I appreciate the work that's been going on, not only on the dashboard and everything else, but bringing back, you informed me, and I like that idea that I can develop and mature as a member of the board. That being said, I come to these and I talk to friends, and they go, what are you doing tomorrow morning? Oh, I got an ECHO board meeting. And then, they screw their faces up and go, why are you doing that? I just wish more residents and citizens of the county would understand the importance of being on these boards. We're the taxpayers. We're the people that are funding the money, and we need to be here. And I know there's a lot of other boards that don't get filled out, but I would encourage the taxpayers who are watching this on streaming right now to encourage their friends to get involved in your county government. Thank you, and appreciate what you did. Motion to adjourn. I never make the motion because I don't know nobody else to hang around with, so I get to hang around with you guys.
Anything about the temperature, my God.
It is cold in here. Yeah. It's cold. It's cold as heck.